Let's do it. All right. This lesson is all about just picking a word, letting words inspire your work. The first thing you're going to do right now, right off the bat, is pick a word or phrase. Okay? It could be your word of the year. A lot of people, at the beginning of the year will pick what word they want to represent their year, whether that is, something about getting yourself motivated, something about, I don't know, people pick all sorts of different words. You can look at the list below the video if you need inspiration, but if you have a word picked out, right now you have to decide, do you want to color it yourself? That's what I'm going to do. But if you are really not into that, if you would prefer to like cut out and collage, like a ransom note, like collage the word, type the word. Like I have this piece of art where I typed the words and put them down because it was so many words. It was hard for me to write all of that and have it look neat. So you have options. So pause this right here if you need to go gather a magazine or your laptop or whatever. I know a lot of people don't have printers these days, but however you're going to do your word, however you're going to put it in here, decide that and then come back. So I'm going to assume now you have come back. If you want to put your word in the middle and you are using like a collaged word, you might want to add that at the end rather than putting it in the beginning, just so you can work with your full canvas. If you were going to paint your word, let's just do it. You kind of have to eyeball. So my word is peace. I know that like world peace is a very like cliched sort of thing. I mean inner peace. That is the thing I want more than anything else. Whenever my daughter asks me what superpower I want, like she's always saying she wants to run really fast like Sonic, or to be able to jump or do this or that. And when she asks me like what I want my superpower to be, I'm like, I wish I could feel peaceful all the time. That means not stressed out, not rushing myself, not anxious about things. So my word is peace. So whatever your word is, think about or feel around inside for what colors that makes you think of, what colors that goes along with. Like I'm going to be doing a lot of blues because I think of blues as being very calming, refreshing. I do think of like peace on earth, blues and greens. So that is what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to mix up a few different shades all on here because I'm going to use a couple different colors within my word. I might use a little purple here and there too. If your word is like harmony, maybe it's pinks and yellows, or maybe it's your word is bold and you're using like reds and oranges, like whatever color scheme you think of when you think of this word is what you're going to want to go for. So I am just going to do a little bit of hand lettering. This doesn't have to look perfect. It doesn't have to be anything. So let's see. A lot of times I misspell things when I am creating because I get really, really like in my left brain, I guess. So I can't spell anymore or talk apparently. All right. So I've made my first letter, and what I want to do while this is still wet is add some of my other colors in here. I love this wet on wet technique of dropping color in while the piece is still wet. It's just really going to give us a neat variety. I just added purple when I didn't mean to, but it's luckily just on my palette. So I'm going to do all the same color scheme for my letter, for my word, but slightly different colors each time. All right, so there's my P, and I have to kind of eyeball this. If you're using a long or a phrase, you'll probably want to put it on 2 lines. I'm just kind of, peace, it's a short word. You could take the time, if that is how your brain works, you could take the time to measure and make sure you have like your center point in the center and do all of that. We, though, are just winging it right now. So there's my E, and I'm gonna go like that. I'm just using the tip of my round brush. I really do use this brush for everything, I'm telling you. And I'm trying not to get too worked up about how this looks. Okay, here's my P, and ooh, I like how that green went out. That's a light green color. It's literally called light green, just in case you're ever looking for something similar. And then this is an emerald green. I use these two greens a lot. A lot. And now I'm just adding this blue. I think this is called midnight blue. So if you don't have this variety of colors, what you'll probably want to do is do this, like mix them in your palette ahead of time so you can dot them on while the paint is still wet, because then you get that nice wet on wet bleeding kind of effect. I'm gonna just bring this down a little bit. All right. Let's see, maybe I'll make this one a lighter. I'll start with a green base instead of a red base piece. I have a whole section on lettering for cards and signs and stuff in my 8-week class, Watercolor Wonderlands and Mixed Media Magic, just in case this kind of thing interests you. That is a whole lesson, one week, and we talk more about lettering and like traditional kind of hand lettering, and we spend more time doing stuff like this, and I talk about some different tools you can use, but this will give you a start doing this. I might even put a little yellow in here, so I think this color can take it. And then probably some light blue. So I am just picking a color scheme of pretty much, I think it's just going to be blue-green. I may throw some yellow in there. And then let's do some straight up green. And basically it's more like a drawing than it is writing, really. You're drawing your letters. Okay. And then I'm gonna dab more colors into it. Normally I listen to podcasts when I paint, but when I'm recording I can't do that. So you're forced to listen to me sing. Lovely, lovely. You also, when things dry, that's probably not quite dry, but I'll show you anyway. You can go back. So if you use wet paint on paint that's already dry, it won't spread out, which you saw in the landscapes, but just to show you again. So like if I want to draw little dots that aren't going to dissolve as much, it's probably not quite dry. I can do it once the paint is dry. You can add little details like that. Same thing, like if you have any gel pens, if you have any markers at all, once this is dry, you could add another layer of detail onto it if you so desired. All right, let's do our final letter here. I didn't choose a short word on purpose, but a short word is definitely a little bit easier when you're trying to fit it. This is another 5x7 piece of paper. I do probably normally work a little bit bigger, but just so we don't have a ton of space to cover. Okay, good. Let's do some more aqua. And when this is totally dry, I'll probably go back and add a few more details. All right, so now we have our word. And if you are not done with your word, feel free to pause this here and finish it up. And it's fine. You can keep adding wet into wet and letting it bleed out, and then it may dry different than it looks at first, but it's always a beautiful effect. I really, really love it. So at this point, I just want to illustrate around my word. And I'm not looking for anything specific as far as like, I'm not painting a landscape here, you know, I'm just gonna be more looking to keep up this theme, this mood of peace. I'm probably gonna make some different shapes, maybe do a little bit of a wash around this. I don't know. I honestly didn't completely plan this before we started talking because, you know, that's half the fun is not knowing. All right, so I'm going to do something now. I have my paintbrush in my mouth. Let me take it out. I'm going to do something right now, which is spray this, but I don't want to spray my letters. So I'm just going to kind of like gently cover with my hand, and I'm going to spray. Whoop. Because I want that to have, whoo, there we go. I want that to have less defined edges. If you don't have a spray brush, if you don't have a little spritzer like this, or a spray bottle, you can, you know, you could flick water. You could put water on the paper first. I'll show you that in a second, actually, so you can see what that looks like. And I'm just doing some wet on wet right there. So here, get paint water, clean water, preferably if you have it. My water's not really clean. See, you can see it's a little blue there, but that's fine. So another way to make it look like that is brush it on and then just start adding colors into it, and they should spread out as time goes, and you should have a nice edge. It's not too straight, not too defined. That's what I'm kind of going for. Just trying to let this stuff all, I'm actually gonna drop a little more water on top. A little blend in. There we go. And I do have these little areas here that I think I'm gonna merge. I'm gonna push some of that color around. It's super wet. I do want to let it dry out a bit. Yeah, I'm liking how this is going. I am probably gonna do another wet on, like, watercolors on water section up here on the top. And add a little darker color here. If you think your edges are too, you can just add, your wet brush like so. I realize I'm not using a lot of complete sentences. This happens to me when I paint. I can't talk. Maybe I'll just like go like that and kind of. So in many ways, this lesson is probably like, wait, what am I learning here? Hopefully you're learning to just go with the flow. Literally, the flow of the paint, the flow of your inspiration, the flow of whatever this word or phrase that you picked, whatever it means to you. It's really just up to you to follow your instincts. I don't want to mess up my painting. There we go. I do love the way spraying it directly like that makes it work, but I really don't want it to get on my letters. So I'm trying to be super careful. Got it a little right there, but c'est la vie. Let's do another corner down here. Do some more blue-green, scoochy. Maybe even touch a blue-green there. Touch a blue-green there. Maybe bring this out even a little more. Okay. Let's join these together in holy matrimony and let them do their thing. But I am gonna add more blue here. You can see that's drying, so I'm doing a little dry on wet. That one's a little wet on dry. Just sort of using the side of my brush and like tapping, tapping, trying to have an uneven edge. if you were patient right now, you could wait until your letter was totally dry before you did any spritzing like that, if you're doing the spritzing thing. You could also do the background first and add in the word. I find that more difficult because then you don't know if you'll have room for your word and you have to maneuver and finagle a lot of things. So you don't have to do a background like I'm doing. You can make shapes. You could use a marker and do, you know, colors, hearts, flowers, lines. You could do really anything at all that you wanted to do. But this is just a fun way to fill in the space. I usually don't. I'm not like a big white space person in my paintings, you will notice. But this does have some white space. I think now that some of these are dry, I may go back and add a few details and let this dry. So something like this, that it's a lot of, this is dark blue. I'm going to try to use a contrasting lighter green here and just add some dots. I think this is still wet, so that might not work as well. It's okay. And then over here, I might go add some more dark blue dots. Just as long as the paint is dry, you can add these little embellishments without it messing and fussing with the first layer. Now, if you get super wet and drag it around a lot, it can kind of move around and pull up the first layer, but if you're gentle, you don't really have to worry about that. Am I done? This is another key question when you're creating art, figuring out when you're done. You, at times, will think you're done and go back and look at it later and realize you're not. That's actually probably better than the other thing that can happen, which has happened to me many times, where you don't think you're done and you go back and you mess with it and then you're like, oh, I should have left it. So I'm using my rag just to dry a smidge right there because I feel like that got a little wet and I don't love that. Okay. I think I'm just gonna leave it like that. If I had a little more time and this was already dry, I might go back and add some like white circles or embellishments or something like that. But this makes me feel peaceful. I enjoy looking at it. I'm looking through the camera now and realizing I probably want to bring this down just a smidge. So I'm adding just a little water, a little color, just to bring it. And that's what I'm talking about with the whole figuring out if you're done or not. Sometimes you just don't know. And some of my color went off here onto the tape, so I'm just pulling a little of it back. Pulling a little of it back. And I'm creating peace, hopefully internal peace. If you are happy with what you made and want to share it, I would love for you to share this on Instagram, tag me at Jen Pacici or hashtag Paint with Jen, and I would love to share your work with the world. I love seeing your work. And I am thinking about peeling this off and I'm a little worried it's not dry enough. Do you dare me to do it? You can see it's still kind of wet, but I do like to present that final beautiful, beautiful white edged piece. Piece, ha! Painting piece, piece. All right, I'm gonna hold out my finger now. This is the section I'm a little worried about. And if your paper's too wet, you don't want to peel your tape off also because it can tear the paper. You don't want to tear your paint off. Eee! All right, good enough. Good enough. There's our lovely piece that says peace. Share yours. See you soon.